Being trans in India is like think you're traveling in a bus or a train and you find chocolates around you. Everyone notices it, but nobody wants to touch it. People might think, "Arey, kya hai? Is it poisoned? Who has left it behind?" Everyday visibility is both a shield and a sword for us. When society kept handing me scripts, I was always the miscast actor in somebody else's melodrama, if I can say so. Everyone around me wanted me to be a neat, quiet boy. And I'm saying this out and loud neat, quiet boy. I was neither neat nor quiet, and certainly didn't want it to be a boy. And I said, enough tragedy for myself for a lifetime and more. I'm going to rewrite my script.
Now, what happens is that basic things, for example, going to a washroom or standing up in the queues at the airport, or even walking down the street. These are such basic things that the cis community or the majority of the population would not even think about. They take it for granted, but those things could be a cause of concern or anxiety for a person from the transgender community. So, I want you to talk to us about what are some of the everyday challenges that a transgender person would face.
And it is trans sisters who stitched me together, literally stitched me together when my world was falling apart, when my body was falling apart. Life is what you make out of it. Thriving was the answer. Geo. And Geo for me means to thrive. I'm a believer. I don't believe that the grass is half full or half empty. I just believe that the glass needs to be there. You fill it up with whatever you want to.
There are stories that move you, and then there are stories that change you. Zainab's journey is one of those rare stories. A trans woman who was told by the world what she couldn't be, and yet she chose to become everything that she was meant to be. A fierce advocate for equality, Zainab has worked with United Nations on gender rights and inclusion. Zainab has led conversations that have redefined how corporate world sees diversity, not just as a checkbox, but as a culture of belonging. But beyond the titles and beyond the roles, Zainab's real legacy lies in her courage to live her truth, courage to stand tall in those rooms that once had no space for her, and courage to speak for those voices that were never heard. Her story is not just about being seen, but about teaching the world to see differently. This episode is a celebration of her courage, of her identity, and of becoming. This is Zainab Patel. So, hi everyone. So, let's welcome Zainab on our show today. Hi Zainab, how are you?
Good morning, Neha. I am doing perfectly fine.
Great, really great to have you on the show. So, let's just get started. If you could give a very small, brief introduction about yourself to all our viewers today.
Hi to everyone listening in to Neha's fantastic and fantabulous show. My name is Zainab Patel, but I've also chosen a new name for myself, Radhika. It's going to be a little challenging for all of you all to be able to figure that out, but nevertheless, I'm going to try and speak to you in the tone that's probably easier to understand. I'm Zainab from Mumbai, a Mumbaikar. I'm a social entrepreneur, a DEI enthusiast, someone who has worked with the UN and social development work for close to 2 decades, taken the government to court multiple times, been a part of the larger LGBTQ and social reform movement in India, and I also identify as a transgender woman. All of this packed together is what you see in me today.
Great. Thank you so much and welcome again, Zainab. Like I was telling you earlier, in our previous conversations, that I really respect you because you're a very well balanced leader. You have worked in such amazing positions, leadership positions, and you've made a great impact when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So today it's a fantastic opportunity for everybody to learn so much more, not just about the trans community, but about inclusion as a whole when we talk about Indian society. So let's start with your journey. So when was the first time that you realized that your journey is going to be different to what the society expects of you?
Neha, um, this question never fails to amuse me or surprise me. And a lot of people ask this question that when did you realize that your journey is going to be different? You don't really wake up one moment and think that today I will be a rebel. Nobody does that. At least nobody does that intentionally. Some people could go in through various incidents in life that may make them a rebel. But my realization about who I was, who I wanted to be, how I wanted to know, came more as a soft realization. It came softly, but it also came in violently. Um, at a young age of 15, when I was battling self harm and suicidal tendencies, um, it came in when I was lying in a hospital bed after swallowing a pharmacist worth of sleeping pills. I thought to myself and I said that, is there an easier way um, not to disappoint everyone else and yet be true to myself and society? And as in for everyone possible, especially for women, keeps handling this scripts. To be a woman, you need to be doing this. To be an ideal person, you need to be doing this. So when society kept handing me scripts, I was always the miscast actor in somebody else's melodrama, if I can say so. So when the society, the world, my family wanted me to be a neat, quiet boy, and I'm saying this out and loud, neat, quiet boy, I was neither neat nor quiet, and certainly didn't want it to be a boy. So that was the moment, the rock bottom, part that felt that I've had enough victimhood, um, enough self harm, and enough tragedy that went on in my life. And God forbid people at young age, especially pre-adolescent, adolescent, young gender non-conforming children go through what I did. And I said, enough tragedy for myself for a lifetime and more. I'm going to rewrite my script. Now, the rewriting of the script did not happen in a day, it did not happen in a month. It's taken 30 years of my life from that incident. I'm 44 now. It's taken 30 years to rewrite the script and to re-edit and replay the script to become who I am. So tragedy did not come as an option, but I decided to add a little bit of jazz in my life to make it optional. That's how I decided I am going to be who I am. And if the world considered me to be a different person, so be it.
Amazing. And the thing that you mentioned, that the change doesn't happen overnight. It takes a
Mm.
lot of time, right? And a lot of effort, and it's consistency also that requires. I and one of the key ingredients, I think, when once you have realized, is acceptance within yourself, because there's a lot of struggle that happens within and also outside, society. Also courage. I feel the courage to speak up for yourself and to move ahead. So how did you find this courage? So once that realization was there, how was the support for you? What was your source of courage in this time?
There's this example that I give very often. And if you all have all seen this movie, Bruce Almighty, there's this conversation that Bruce has with God Almighty, and he says, make me strong and make me acceptable. And he said, yes, I can. Then God replies back to say, I can make you all of that. But what if I give you opportunities to prove your bravery, opportunities to prove your mettle, opportunities to prove your strength? And people around us and our literature tell us that, strength is forged in fire. I disagree. Many a times, all you do is feel like coal in the fire, not feel the fire itself. I am a very practical, a very grounded person. Sometimes when people push you against the wall, all you can do is sometimes remain passive, sometimes push back, and sometimes draw the strength to resist. Unfortunately, all of us are not the same. All of us react to certain things differently. And I'm not ashamed to say that my strength is not something that you can write poems or, write an expressive essay about. Most of the times, it was plain stubbornness. It was just me being stubborn that no, I want to be myself. You know, you as a woman, Neha, would realize that the world often gives out boxes, box for gender, box for career, box for how a family should be, how settled you feel in a family, the number of children you have, um, family, even if the world decides to give you happiness, they decide how happy you should be or how sad you should be. All of these come in these boxes by the world. And I refuse to take those boxes from people. After a point of time, I refuse to be the stereotypical gender, identity, religion, body stereotype. I started taking myself as a compliment. The LGBT community, like most other communities, can be extremely cruel to you in terms of body shaming, gender stereotyping, just like, men and women would. Some of your fiercest critiques, unfortunately, sometimes maybe for you are women. Like the fiercest critiques for men sometimes are men within them. You're not manly enough, you don't walk in a particular way, boys should not cry, or women should behave in a certain way. Um, I think my real strength came by what I understood as community. Many a times people tell us that, oh, this is community, your community. Unfortunately, we don't have a sense of community. We are bound together by love, by togetherness, etc. But there is nothing like blood that connects us. And imagine we are so strong in ourselves because we do not have blood ties. The heterosexual cisgender world finds comfort in blood ties. My community, Mary Com, Mary Caste. We find that because that is what keeps you all together. But my community, pain, destitution, um, violence brings us together. The fact that we are not loved brings us together. The fact that we are not wanted brings us together. And that creates the strongest bond, which can never be bought by money, which can never be bought by what the society throws at us. We've had different people invade us, whether it was the Mughal, the Turks, the British, the Portuguese, the French. So many people came and brought in so many different value systems, and yet we've held on to our own. And it is trans sisters who stitched me together, literally stitched me together when my world was falling apart, when my body was falling apart, and who reminded me that, you don't survive just by living. There are so many people in the hospital who are on ventilators. There are so many plants and shrubs and vegetation that grow on the street even without somebody watering them. That's not what life is. Life is what you make out of it. you know Thriving was the answer. Geo, and geo for me means to thrive. And that's where, slowly over a period of time, I stopped living and I started thriving.
Wow.
It may not, it's like when you thrive, you don't automatically burst into a mirage of greenery. Some of it may come in small sprouts, some of it may come in terms of lush greenery, but thriving means something totally different for different kind of people. It could be that one solitary creeper growing out of a brick wall with no support. That was what my moment of truth and strength was, to thrive. And I believe that my community, apart from teaching me resilience and being strong and fighting back, it also taught me humor. Be humorous in all situations. People can inflict, can make you angry, but they can never make you laugh. So you make people laugh. Bring humor into your life. It will drive people insane.
Yeah, yeah.
So activism keeps me busy. My social entrepreneurship brings in the money, but my strong cup of coffee, tea, chai, whatever, is our humor, to turn our tears into, even tears into something that brings us together.
Wow, amazing. I mean, the things that you've mentioned about the power of community, and also that mere existence is not important. We need
Yeah,
to, yeah, flourish and thrive, and how beautifully your community has supported you to, turn all those challenges.
because we don't have a choice. We didn't have a choice. Sometimes not having a choice makes you brave, gives you the strength. When you're, when you are in your 10th standard and you're mulling over choices, what is it that you want to do? What is it that you will do with your grades? Would you take science, or would you take commerce or arts or whatever? You have those choices. But when you don't have those choices, you're like that solitary person who gets that 90, 92, and your parents have already decided for you that 92 means science. Don't even think of anything else, or engineering or whatever. And you're that solitary person who decides to take arts with maths at St. Xavier's College. That is strength.
Seriously, very well said. I want to now talk a little bit about cis community. Okay. Now, what happens is that basic things, for example, going to a washroom, or standing up in the queues at the airport, or even walking down the street. These are such basic things that the cis community or the majority of the population would not even think about. They take it for granted, but those things could be a cause of concern or anxiety for a person from the transgender community. So I want you to talk to us about what are some of the everyday challenges that a transgender person would face, in the society.
Being trans in India is like, think you're traveling in a bus or a train and you find chocolates around you. Some of you, everyone notices it, but nobody wants to touch it. People might think, "Arey, kya hai? Is it poisoned? Who has left it behind? Could it be drugged or whatever?" So everyday visibility is both a shield and a sword for us. You pointed it out very nicely, Nia. I don't even want to put in words to. For us, visibility, one look at us and people know, oh, this person is, I hate to say the word, not normal, not like us. And why is this person standing in the line? Why is this person traveling in the train? I'll give you a very small example, Neha. Even if we buy tickets and travel in the women's compartment, people don't expect us to sit on the seats in the trains with them. They expect us to sit on the floor. If this is not third class citizenship in India, what is? People don't want to sit next to us in buses, much less see us in a metro. Then how do we access public transportation? When we go on to look at houses for rent, people think that what are we going to do? We are going to do sex work. We are going. I'm not saying people in my community don't do it. I accept the realities of my community, but to paint everyone in the same brush and to just blanket, and that is why you don't see trans people living in high rises and apartments and societies. You often see them in slums. That this is precisely the reason why, that there is this famous case study, and you probably heard a lot about it, how Kochi Metro offered so many trans people. But the flip side of it, Neha, all of those people had to leave within a year because people refused to give them rented accommodation, or doubled the rentals to give it to these people. And what do you do then? You have to, then how much will a person aim to mainstream themselves with when they meet with such kind of resistance? It's like trying to be everything which which the cisgender heterosexual world with money should be able to buy. Okay, I buy a train ticket, buy a metro ticket, renew a passport, using a public bathroom. It's there may be some hesitation on sanitation or standards or whatever, but nobody thinks of access as an issue. But for us to be seen there, like I can tell you the numerous times people have asked me to explain what a trans person is and what am I doing in a woman's room or washroom or whatever, is absolutely not funny. I have a higher degree of possibility as a woman. I don't experience it as much today as I did before, but people traveling with me, they do. Security guards don't want to touch us. Doctors don't want to examine us at close proximity, much less touch us. I feel this is systemic, untouchability that people want to practice with us. So when you say cis people like you move through life because, through this invisibility, because it comes to you as a privilege, you all don't even realize this. We move with our back straight always. We have to give our documents in the hand. Are aap wohi ho kya? Today, I love to wear a bindi, so I wear a bindi. And at the airport, imagine at the boarding gate, the person is saying that, can I see your ID card, ma'am? Because it says Zainab Patel. And I'm wearing a bindi and a sari. At the boarding gate, I have gone through the security, I have gone through the Digi Yatra, through the scanning at the desk, etc. And at the boarding station, because and I know what it means.
Yeah.
So some days people like me just get tired of explaining,
Mhm.
get tired of educating. How many times will we educate, re-educate people? Tired of being both the syllabus and the subject.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to know is that a lot of times, especially in our Indian society, in our culture, there are a lot of remarks. People, a sliding
Yeah.
joke, a comment, or something. They just make a remark or a comment, but they do not realize that the other person, it might affect the other person's self-esteem, confidence. If they are going through something, if they are struggling already, the person might just go down the rabbit hole, might not recover. So, I want to know from you. When somebody makes such offensive remarks, what happens, to a trans person's sense of belonging and self confidence?
After a point of time, we learn to take it in our stride. But imagine this term hijra, chakka.
Mm.
If you're walking down the street and someone shouts out that behind you, everyone turns to look at and say, who's this person talking? These are terms we did not come up with ourselves. The heterosexual world has come up with these terms. We didn't even know what it meant till it became and became to be used as an abusive term.
Yeah.
Will anyone take an abusive term for themselves? Will anyone want to embrace an abusive term? You called us ijda, okay, fine, we are ijda. You call it chakke hai, wo to theek hai, hum accept karte hain, hum. What can we do to counteract this? People have tried to bring in different kind of vocabulary, but for everyone we are all of these terms only. So when somebody mocks my identity, I have two options. One is to respond back with with wit or with sting. And some days I decide to just conserve my energy for doing something better or just keeping the peace of my mind. The stings, these words that are used against us, these phrases, "Oh, par tum alag ho," it chips away at our confidence. You're talking about acceptance, it chips away at our confidence. It chips away at our attempts at trying to mainstream ourselves, at trying to belong to the larger community. Then we, at the end of the day, believe me, Neha, within 24 hours, at least 5 to 10 people will make us realize that we are hijra, we are outside. 5 to 10 people, and on a minimum basis, will make you realize that you. So when we go back, there is also anger within us, there is also resentment within us. Where do you find the rage of this trans community coming from? It is this constant battering, this constant badgering by people, this constant rejection, this constant ticking off. We are not God men. We are not saints to keep forgiving and moving forward. We are also human beings. We have a heart. We have emotions. So when people say you are so uncouth and you all don't know how to behave yourselves, have people ever examined their own conscience and seen how people behave with us to blame us that we don't know how to behave?
Very well said. I mean, behind every face, there's this story, there's this person, and we do not see that. You know, we fail to see that. I
And I must say this one thing, Neha, that um, there are many trans people like me who have decided to take it also within our stride and walk.
Mm,
Because we've chosen a different life for ourselves. We've chosen a life where we value our self identity more than anything else. So every time people mock me or people around me, we often remind ourselves that this is not their stage, this is my stage.
mm,
And self esteem is not a trophy. It is something that I have claimed for myself. Nobody gave me self esteem as a trophy. So I choose not to let it affect me until a point it really gets difficult.
Amazing. On this note, I really want to appreciate you because I feel that you are very balanced after having such experiences. Also, you have not become bitter. You're still you've been very
It's
balanced in
what
your
you make
approach.
out of it.
Exactly. So amazing, and hats off to you. The other bit I wanted to talk about is the transitioning journey. Now, I wouldn't have known so much about it. Things like the hormonal therapy or what really goes on, not just physically but also mentally, psychologically. If I had not done my study on diversity, so I want you to talk to us about what happens in a person, in a trans person's life during this transitioning period, especially psychologically.
I think nothing prepares you for the kind of psychological and psychosocial change that's happening around you. Transitioning is not like what they show in television, that you just walk into a space as a male presenting person and walk out of the door as a female presenting. Transition is you being able to express yourself in the gender that you want to. Now, how one looks at it is also different. Like many people expect you to wear a sari or dress up like in pants, trousers, shirts, etc. Now, how a person decides to express themselves is also challenging. Then comes the part which is the medical part, which brings in hormone replacement therapy. Some people opt for surgery, and there are many phases after that. But amongst all of this, one has to realize that most importantly, your service providers, you know, whoever they may be in this case, whether it is the psychiatrist who's the gatekeeper, whether it is your hormone therapist, whether it is your surgeons, etc., whether it is your counselors, whether it's your pharmacist, it is where the medical red tape meets the social circus. Believe me, everyone has a view about how they expect you to be. Doctors can be ignorant, they continue to be ignorant. Insurance is a fantasy for most of us. Some of us have had the privilege to have insurance or have the money to be able to buy this. It costs much more than probably my mother's expectations for me. You know, it's also a loss. We lose, it's like a lost parade, if I can say so. We lose old friends, we lose our families, we lose our jobs, we lose the cities of our birth. We lose people who we want to be in touch with, but who cannot accept our new realities and identities. It also means that on the mental health, rarely being recognized for the gender you have chosen to be identified with. You are just a dramatic headline for people. You are depressed, you have anxiety, you have isolation. People come in dressed as unwelcome people. You cope with your family from the scratch over and over again. You try to huddle for warmth. You look at chosen families for victories. And most importantly, you keep on forgiving and start reclaiming yourself every bit of the way.
So now I want to talk about the state of reforms in our country. So we all know that NALSA judgment in 2014, that was a landmark judgment by the Indian Supreme Court, and that basically recognized the transgender as a third gender in our country. So a lot of things would have changed since then. And you were one of the petitioners, right, in that judgment. So that was a big win for you, for the community. But I want to know, like, since then, do you think things have changed? Do you think there are more opportunities? Has that paved way for more reforms or more acceptance?
Interesting question. Thank you for not asking what the implications were, but what it meant for me and for others. Being a petitioner in the NALSA case was like being able to write our own stories. As a African proverb that goes that, uh, you know, history will always remember the hunters until the lions start, telling their stories. And I'm glad I had this opportunity to be able to go to the Supreme Court and fight out. So when the Supreme Court finally in their verdict says, "We see you," I really wanted to shout out from those benches of the Supreme Court and said, "Finally, finally you see us." In a country of a billion plus people where we are the most visible, you finally see us. So Justice AP Shah, when he was writing his judgment on the Section 377 judgment in the uh, Delhi High Court, he made a very fantastic line, and I quote that line everywhere I go, and you're no stranger to that. He says that courts do not confer rights; they merely confirm it. So it was the confirmation of right that we don't only belong to India's margins; we belong to India. Is what it meant for me and those who fought with that. Every step towards justice, you will have road full of potholes, you will have people opposing you, name calling. Like I was in this recent marriage equality case, and the additional solicitor general called me an urban elitist in court. Then my lawyer had to tell that I lived in a slum. So they said, how did probe the way I get funding? So I said, please probe. In may probably few years, you may come to know that I have contributed enough to India's taxation system to be able to have a small flyover bridge attached to me. But this is the reality. You know, Even after that fantastic judgment, even after the passing of the Protection of the Transgender Protection Act, there was there is very bad execution. It's been 11 years after the NALSA judgment. We are still going to courts again and again and again to find out what it means. Now, in another case, the government of India says the definition of transgender persons is too broad. We should probably narrow it. I don't know what they mean by that. It means, again, you want to put me into a box that suits your convenience. There is questionable policy, there is persistent prejudice that's happening, and there are still people being killed for who they are. See, the judgment, if I would say in very small and common terms, is it personally reminded me that defiant, we were just defiant in that when we went to court, coupled with patience, can change history. And we did that. Three people did that in court. People who were stubborn but with patience fought it out and got India to change its stand on us. And we created history, even if it took 70 years after India's independence, or 60 years at that point of time.
Amazing. We really need people like you to make that change and for the world to see things differently. Now, I wanted to talk about like on a similar note. If you had a superpower to make a law in our country for the trans community, what would that be?
See, Neha, I'm very clear on this. For me, anti-discrimination needs to be the biggest thing that could, because you have politicians who are running for political office, and when they go and make election speeches, they say, "वो आदमी नहीं है, औरत है, वो हिजड़ों से बदतर है." When people make these comments, when people in political office make these comments, and these are chief ministers, these are big politicians who say this, what will the common man on the street not learn from them? So while I feel that anti-discrimination, needs to be stronger, the biggest need that I feel is healthcare for this community. You know, make healthcare for trans people universal, dignified. We don't have to remove our clothes to prove who we are. Imagine you can get treatment only if you can open your clothes and expose your body to someone. And it should be free of any nosy paperwork. Are you've not taken hormones, you don't have breasts, you've not had surgery. Are we who are you to judge that?
And this is also like for basic care, like basic things, or
Even for basic care, look at the kind of questions that people ask. Look at the cues that people make us go through. These are continuing till eternity. Why do you think trans people don't want to go to public hospital? One is the persistent discrimination that starts from the gate of the hospital until the treating physician sees you. And why? Because every right that sprouts from health, has this potential of becoming bigger, helps the community become strong. My community, and Neha, think about this. I have started talking about it. Look at the rate of suicides within my community. It's higher than that of the general population. Even amongst men and women, it is the rates of suicide and homicide amongst the trans community is way higher. Look at our life expectancy. Have you come across trans people beyond 70 years of age? Have you seen them? My life expectancy as a trans person is lesser than the average cis het person. This is what years of neglect, years of abuse, years of systemic discrimination does to you.
thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's such a shameful state, and I really hope that things change. But I don't know how if you had to kind of think about India 10 years from now. Do you think things will change? Do you think as a society we'll become more inclusive?
See, change is inevitable. Change is inevitable. When I started my journey 26 years ago in 1999, trying to understand what it means to be a community worker, I did not realize that in 2025 I would be this person talking about rights, being known for it, taking the government to court. So change will happen irrespective of who the actors are. It is nature's way of even pruning the system. So change will happen. The question is that is the change meaningful? Like you asked me this question on NALSA, the judgment, the act, and all of these policies, has they been beneficial? But it is riddled with bad implementation, etc. So change also has to be meaningful. So things will change. But I believe with socio-economic empowerment and most importantly, economic empowerment of the community, people can decide what they want to do with their health. Just like when you empower women economically, the household health indices of those people and those families improve because women take better informed decisions about what the family eats, how it treats itself. It results in better education, better goals, etc., being achieved.
Yeah, understood. Now I wanted to talk about DEI. So let's talk a little bit about corporate sector. And we all know that what happens in the US, there's like a ripple effect across the globe, and a lot of things have happened in this last 1 year. There has been a change in the political environment, and because of that, a lot of DEI programs, initiatives, they've either rolled back or stalled, and that not just happened in the US but also in India. That is one part of the story. But also, on the other hand, we talk about going local, right? Having a lot of things here back home. So, when we talk about Make in India or going local, do you think that we should go for some India specific approaches when it comes to trans inclusion or just DEI in general?
I've been watching this situation for quite some time now. I mean, even before in the previous administration, and I don't want to name administrations for the simple reason it becomes too political. But America is like that trend setting aunt of yours who comes up in a party or a wedding. Sometimes they are stylish and sometimes they are outrightly scandalous. So the US sends ripples globally, in many things that they do. We have overwhelmed ourselves with what happens and given extra credence to the fact, oh, this is what America set the agenda and it is creating resetting its agenda. Good for them, bad for them, it is what their people chose. In India, we still have many, many local challenges to meet. And these are caste, these are economic class, these are families. And when backlash erupts, I watch it spread across the season. So for me, it doesn't matter what administration has come and what it has DI, people losing their jobs, etc. But for majority of India who are not employed in those US corporations, their reality should not get impacted by what is happening in America. See, this is very, we love creating hysteria and virtually living in hysteria. But tell me, how many US corporations in India? How many US corporations involving LGBT people? How many LGBT people involved compared to the fraction of what they may be in the total LGBT representation in India? And should it really bother us? So I feel, we should prioritize our activism. Basic, we should not idolize anyone. If we need to do is we need to be idols for everyone. We need to be the Vishwa Gurus. We were already Vishwa Gurus. We taught the people that gender existed, so many forms of gender is there. We have brought in our own legislation, so we don't need to get idolized by what's happening in the West. I totally denounce what comes out of the West because they keep changing their ideas as per their situation. So for me, we need activism tailored to Mumbai streets, to Mumbai's chawls, to Mumbai's bylanes, not what is happening in Manhattan boardrooms, not what happening in San Francisco. Yes, it is their reality. They need to face it. We express solidarity with them. But that is what an ordinary citizen who doesn't have a US visa also can think and pray. I can pray and express my voice with you. But that is what I can do. Import empathy, but even better is don't import their policies at all.
Amazing. I like the statement you made, import empathy, but
Don't
don't
import
import
their
policy.
policies, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with the part that we need to make ourselves strong and have things tailored which are specific to the Indian context and Indian challenges and things that we face on a daily basis. Before we wrap up, I want to get your advice and message actually that you have A for the trans community, you know, those people, um, the young trans folks who are probably living in fear, confusion in their head, challenging situations. They don't have the courage, they don't know what to do. Maybe they feel stuck, and I don't know what they're going through, but I want you to give a message to them. And B, I want you to give a message to the larger cis community, to the allies. In what way can people support and make a real difference for the trans community?
I'll actually change it because you asked me what will change in the next 10 years. I'll answer it in that. I'm a believer. I don't believe that the glass is half full or half empty. I just believe that the glass needs to be there. You fill it up with whatever you want to. So, Neha, picture this, and to you, all of your viewers, well wishers, allies, fence sitters, change makers, and just ordinary people like you and me. India 10 years from now is a place where trans kids can study being totally unafraid in their schools and remain in their family. Where our IDs can match our smile. Where neighbors gossip about cricket scores, not about my gender or what is there between my legs. Where law is not only the skeleton, dignity is the flesh, and inclusion will be unremarkable because differences can be celebrated. They don't need to be a bone of contention, they can actually be a cause for celebration. Um, there are trans people in the parliament, on television, in the street, as your neighbor, as your sister, your brother, your friend, your colleague, probably as your partner as well. Where we are part, not just part of the scenery, but we are the landscape. That's my vision. That's my hope, and that's my expectation.
Beautiful. I really hope that that turns into reality. Thank you so much, Zainab, for sharing such a beautiful journey of yours and your thoughts and your inspiration, your source of courage, and about your community.
Sorry, Neha, I just wanted to give a message to a lot of young trans people who are actually looking up for role models and icons. If I could just use my last few minutes with you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
have two
absolutely. Go
messages
ahead.
for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
allies and for young people especially, because young people are the future of anything. So for every LGBT youth in this country, and I'm not saying trans only, but because LGBT people need to work together to create a better future. Remember that your story is not a tragedy. You don't need to thrive in tragedy. It's a saga, it's an epic. Use your own queerness, if I could call it. Turn it into art, activism, arguments, wherever you are. Loneliness is real. No matter how strongly I advocate for acceptance, loneliness is real for most of you, for wherever you are coming from, because it's a long battle. But so are chosen families. Reach out, find your social family, chosen family. Opportunities might come and go, might increase with time, but your self-worth is always permanent. It will not be dependent on a DEI policy coming out of the US or wherever. It is your own self worth that will count. And on the days when you stumble, always remember you owe nobody an apology for being yourself, because you are just plain wonderful. And for all of my allies, for those people who have yet not grown a spine, because allies for me are people who have spine, and what do people who have spine do? They stand up straight for us. So don't just wear your badge, do the work. Call out phobia, whether it is LGBT phobia, transphobia, everywhere. But also invite us into your spaces. All of this corporate activism is great. Invite us into your spaces where decisions are made. Invite us into your lives and your families. Listen, learn, laugh with us, not at us. Um, and don't make support limited to Pride Month. It's a great thing for people who sign up, no offense against you, but don't limit it to that. Make it a daily practice, is because what has actually changed the world is that one awkward conversation. So lean into discomfort, have those conversations, and change the world.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Zainab. Those were really beautiful and powerful words. Thank you again for coming on Talk with Nesh and sharing your journey and your thoughts with everybody. Thank you, Zainab. Thank you so much for watching us till the end. I really hope that you found value in this conversation. Please do like, subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear this. I always believe that we do not have to look far for inspiration because there are so many incredibly inspiring stories all around us. Because as they say, that no one else sees the world the way you do, so no one else can tell the stories that you have. Thank you.